I don't want to detract from the bad things that happened. I do want to say that there was more to it than that. I also want to point out that the phenomenon of one people migrating for whatever reason and pushing other people off their land is not a peculiar European thing. I mean, Native American peoples were doing it long before Europeans got there. And I grant you the impact of Europeans on North America over time was far greater. But insofar as unjust invasion is unjust, that's right. It's not a peculiar European sin.
No, I mean, and it's fascinating to me, actually, that the history of the North American continent, as you point out, was a history of a series of attempted empires from various tribal Native American tribes that sought to expand their territory and rule over others in a way that is ubiquitous in human history. It is not in the same way that slavery is ubiquitous in human history. It was not a uniquely American or uniquely British thing. It was something that was practiced across Africa, throughout the Middle East, and throughout history, many parts of the world. But what's different here, surely, is that people from a completely different part of the world, not just neighboring, but a completely different part of the world, just show up. I mean, one counterfactual is, what if a few Indians, India Indians, had done the same thing in reverse, showed up with a bunch of big ships on the coast of Cornwall? How would the English have responded to the arrival and settling of a bunch of people from completely different part of the world, completely different biology, completely different culture, and just said, "Well, we're going to hang here for a bit"? They would have murdered them. I mean, they would have launched armies to get rid of them, and yet the Europeans thought it was fine for them to go to other people's countries and start bossing people around. Now, how can that be right?
I'm not saying that was right, Andrew, but
then you pulled the rug out the entire argument. If it was not right, if they had no right to go to these places where other people lived, then the entire project is immoral and unfair.
No, I don't agree.
Okay, tell me why.
So this is highly controversial, Andrew, but I will say it because it's a good example. I myself have doubts about the justice of the British Empire supporting Zionist immigration to Israel, simply because 90% of the people there were Arab, and although I think the British were well-meaning, I think they underestimated the difficulty of having significant numbers of people, European Jews, planted in an Arab environment. So I think there are doubts about whether that should have happened. However, that was 100 years ago or 90 years ago. Now, I think the state of Israel has every right to exist, because in many respects, not all respects, it is a prosperous liberal society which continues to have problems with its past. And with America, I mean, it is, the origins of America are murky too. Yes, you fought off the wicked Imperial British, but one reason you did that was because you were frustrated. You colonists were frustrated because the 10,000 redcoats were trying to stop you invading Indian lands. So there's an irony for you, right? So, and I'm a Christian, Andrew. We were born in sin. We inherit sin. We have to make the best of what we inherit. But the past was not pure. And in terms of the foundation of England, I mean, good Lord, yes, if Indians had the naval technology across the Atlantic and pitch up in Cornwall, they wouldn't have been welcomed. But then the island of the British Isles have been invaded hundreds of times by people not very far away across the sea from Germany and Normandy and whatever. So that's a fact of history. Why do people do that? All sorts of reasons they do it. But I think another thing we need to understand is this rationalization or is it just contextualization